Have you ever wondered why some people only show up when they need something from you? They go silent for months, then suddenly text you, acting all friendly, only to ask for a favor a few messages later. This isn't just frustrating, it's a red flag warning of fake friendships. If you're always the one giving but never receiving, pause and ask, are you being taken advantage of? In this video, I'll share 7 signs of inauthentic friendships, rooted in the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophers, plus how to protect your peace. Stick around to discover how to build truly meaningful relationships, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to join us in creating a more fulfilling life. They only show up when they need something. Do you ever wonder why some people only seem to appear in your life when it benefits them? Maybe they've been silent for months and then out of nowhere they text, acting all friendly, until a few messages in they ask for a favor. It's like they see you as a resource rather than a person. This isn't just frustrating, it's a red flag. What if you've been the one constantly showing up for others, offering help, and yet, when the tables are turned, they vanish or offer nothing in return? The truth is, this isn't an isolated situation. It's a pattern. And it reveals something much deeper about human nature. In this scenario, we are reminded of Seneca's timeless wisdom. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Fake friends, those who treat relationships as one-sided transactions, are living in a constant state of lack. Their behavior stems from an insatiable desire for more, yet it never fills them up. The emptiness they feel will never be quenched by your help, your time, or your effort. Think of friendship as a garden. If one person is constantly taking from the soil, but never watering it, what happens? The garden withers. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, would argue that a person who treats relationships in this way lacks true virtue, because virtue is about acting for the good of others, without selfish expectation. So, when you find yourself always giving and never receiving, remember, you're dealing with someone who is not practicing the same virtue. What's your role in all of this? How do you navigate the constant pull of these one-sided relationships? First, you have to remember that you control how you respond. You may not be able to change someone's behavior, but you can control your boundaries. By establishing them firmly, you protect your peace while still allowing space for genuine connections, if they decide to show up as their true selves. Next time they reach out, don't be afraid to set a boundary. You don't need to be confrontational or harsh. A simple statement like, "I'd love to catch up properly sometime, but I can't help with that right now," is enough. You're not denying the potential for connection. You're simply asserting that you will no longer tolerate relationships based on convenience. You're not a resource, you're a person. And sometimes, boundaries are the strongest form of self-respect. Remember, the words of Marcus Aurelius echo through the centuries: if someone does wrong, it is not your fault but their fault. It is only your fault if you fail to do what is right. You may not be able to change them, but you can certainly control your response and maintain your own integrity. So, ask yourself, are you letting people use you as a vending machine, or are you choosing to cultivate relationships that are rooted in mutual respect and honesty? The next time someone only comes around when they need something, ask yourself, are you going to allow them to take your time, energy, and kindness without reciprocating? Or will you, like the Stoics, choose to maintain control and set a boundary that aligns with your values? They gossip about others behind their backs. Gossip is like a poison. It spreads quickly, infecting the minds of those who partake in it and anyone within earshot. You've seen it, right? The friend who, without hesitation, dissects the lives of others, sharing their flaws, their mistakes, and their secrets like it's the juiciest form of entertainment. It's a bad habit, a cheap thrill for the insecure, but its consequences are far from harmless. The Stoics, who valued integrity above all, would see this as a clear sign of a character defect. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote in Meditations that we should strive to be free from malice, deceit, and hypocrisy. So, when someone gossips about others, they're not just displaying poor judgment, they're showing you a lack of integrity, a fundamental breach in the fabric of what it means to be a virtuous person. And here's the brutal truth: if they're gossiping about others, they're probably gossiping about you too. It's not just the words that hurt, it's the intent behind them. What are they gaining from tearing others down? The thrill of drama, the false sense of superiority? We know this all too well from history. In the courts of kings and emperors, there were always those who whispered in the shadows, hoping to manipulate the power dynamics. Take Julius Caesar, for example. He surrounded himself with sycophants, but also trusted those who maintained their honor. Those who gossiped behind his back? They were the ones who were eventually swept aside, forgotten in the pages of history. How do you recognize this sign in your life? It's not hard. If you notice that your friends' conversations are constantly filled with negativity about others, always pointing out flaws, always looking for the latest scandal, you're witnessing the early warning signs of someone who cannot be trusted. These are the same people who thrive on drama, feeding off conflict like vultures circling the weak. Does your friend seem to hold a secret joy in putting others down? Do they avoid elevating anyone else in conversation, yet continually belittle others to maintain their own sense of importance? It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to be the center of attention. But the Stoics would argue, it's not the drama that matters, it's the cultivation of virtue in your own life. The question isn't whether you can stop them from gossiping, it's whether you can resist the pull to engage in it. You cannot control their words, but you can control your response. So what's your role in this? Every time they start the cycle of gossip, you have a choice. You can choose to be complicit, or you can choose to elevate the conversation. Instead of feeding into the negativity, why not redirect? Shift the focus to something meaningful. Try saying, "Hey, I'm really not into talking about other people like this. How about you tell me what's been going on with you instead?" It's a subtle yet powerful act of deflection. You're not only protecting your own integrity, you're signaling that you're not a willing participant in their petty drama. But let's be real, sometimes redirecting doesn't work. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, they keep spiraling back into gossip. And in those cases, you might find that it's time to take a step back. Distance yourself. The Stoics were clear, the things we love tell us what we are. If you find yourself constantly surrounded by negativity, what does that say about your own environment? Are you choosing to be a person of integrity? Or are you just a reflection of the toxic dynamics around you? It's a tough call, but in the end, distancing yourself isn't just about avoiding drama, it's about protecting your peace, your character, and your own mental space. Because here's the painful truth. If you surround yourself with people who thrive on gossip and manipulation, you'll soon find that their toxicity becomes your own. And if you want to live with integrity, if you want to be someone who stands for virtue, you must recognize when to walk away. Are you going to let the gossipers shape your relationships, or will you take a stand for conversations that uplift, that elevate, that matter? They're jealous of your success. There's something unsettling about the way people react when you succeed. The friend who smiles politely but says nothing when you share your good news. Or worse, the one who quickly changes the subject, unwilling to acknowledge your achievement. Why does it happen? Why do some people, especially those who claim to be close to you, seem to shrink in the shadow of your success? The Stoics would argue that envy is not just a character flaw, it's a poison that seeps from a place of insecurity. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic minds, emphasized that we should find joy in others' good fortune, not resentment. Yet, how often do we encounter individuals who can't help but feel threatened by your progress? Envy isn't born from the love of others, it's born from the love of self. The jealous friend is so fixated on their own perceived shortcomings, their own insecurities, that your success becomes a mirror reflecting everything they feel they lack. Instead of celebrating your triumph, they either dismiss it or diminish its value, as if trying to convince themselves that your win doesn't matter. "Oh, it's not a big deal," they'll say, when deep down they wish it were their name on the promotion, their face in the spotlight. It's not about you, it's about them and their struggle to accept their own circumstances. Think about it. In a world where we're constantly surrounded by comparisons, it's easy to fall into the trap of envy. In ancient times, commanders like Alexander the Great had to be wary of those around them, not just because of enemies on the battlefield, but because of the potential jealousy from their own ranks. Those closest to power, those who should have been allies, were often the most likely to conspire against them. The Stoics, however, took a different approach. They understood that jealousy is rooted in a lack of self-awareness and an inability to embrace one's own fate. Envy is a mental poison. Imagine trying to carry it with you throughout your day, how it weighs on your spirit, makes every victory feel like a threat. How could someone who's truly confident in their own journey allow another's success to ruin their peace of mind? The Stoics didn't just talk about envy, they actively worked to eliminate it by embracing the concept of amor fati, loving one's fate, accepting life as it unfolds. They knew that not everyone would be able to celebrate your wins, and that was perfectly fine. It was their burden, not yours. So, how do you spot a friend who's drowning in envy? Look for the signs. They'll downplay your accomplishments with comments like, "It's not that big of a deal," or they'll try to one-up you with their own achievements no matter how irrelevant. The envy festers when they can't stand to see you excel. The worst part? They may even act distant, passive-aggressive, or withdraw when you share good news. It's as if your happiness is a mirror reflecting their own dissatisfaction with their life. This is the key. The Stoic wisdom here is not to fight against their envy, but to protect your peace. The next time you have a success to share, test the waters. Keep your victories small and see how they react. Are they genuinely happy for you, or does their reaction reveal something darker? If the latter, don't force them into the role of a cheerleader. Instead, focus on those who truly want to see you succeed, who understand that your wins don't diminish theirs. Protect your joy by sharing your successes selectively. If someone's joyless in response to your good news, hold back on the details. This isn't about hiding who you are or what you've accomplished, but about conserving your energy for people who will truly appreciate and support you. Focus on relationships that nurture your spirit, and remember, not everyone deserves a front row seat to your success. As Marcus Aurelius so wisely said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." Success isn't just the high points, it's about recognizing the entire experience, including those who try to tear you down along the way. What will you choose to focus on? The envy of others or the joy of your own growth and success? They drain your energy. Have you ever walked away from a conversation or a meeting feeling utterly exhausted, as if you've just run a marathon with no finish line in sight? You didn't just lose physical energy, you lost something much more valuable, your mental and emotional strength. This is a classic sign of a toxic friendship, one that can leave you feeling depleted and worn out, like a battery that's been drained dry. The Stoics understood the importance of maintaining inner tranquility, and they warned against surrounding yourself with people who drain your energy. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But what happens when someone continually challenges that peace, making you feel like your mental and emotional resources are being siphoned away with every interaction? The Stoics believed that the people we keep close should inspire us to be the best version of ourselves, not leave us feeling like we're constantly battling against the tides of their negativity. Imagine trying to row a boat in a storm. The storm is loud, chaotic, and exhausting, while the boat's purpose is to carry you forward. If your friends are the storm and not the boat, how can you expect to move forward with any sense of peace or progress? Fake friends thrive on monopolizing conversations, complaining about every little thing, or creating drama for the sake of drama itself. They drag you into their whirlpool of negativity, and you find yourself getting pulled deeper and deeper. So how do you recognize this in real life? It's often subtle. You might feel a knot of anxiety in your stomach before seeing them, or feel drained for hours after spending time together. Do you find yourself carrying their emotional weight like a backpack full of rocks? Are their problems always bigger than yours, and do they talk over you, leaving no space for you to share your own thoughts or feelings? When you try to talk about your own struggles, are they dismissed, minimized, or worse, made about them? This is no accident. The nature of fake friends is to make everything about them, constantly seeking validation, using your time and energy as a reflection of their own insecurities. As the Stoics would say, this is an unvirtuous cycle. You give, they take, and the imbalance leaves you empty. But here's the key, you have control over this dynamic. You don't need to let their energy suck the life out of you. You can choose to protect your peace. After spending time with someone, pause and check in with yourself. How do you feel? Energized or drained? The Stoics believed in self-reflection, the practice of examining our thoughts and actions. If you notice that you consistently feel drained after seeing this friend, it's time to take action. Politely start creating distance, whether it's turning down invitations or limiting your interactions to group settings. Your peace is worth far more than the fleeting moments you give to someone who continually drains your energy. Think about it. In a world full of chaos, where external forces are constantly pushing and pulling at you, shouldn't your inner circle be a place of refuge, not a battlefield? Ask yourself, are the people in your life adding to your sense of peace, or are they taking from it? If they're not helping you grow, if they're not inspiring you to be the best version of yourself, then they're likely dragging you down. So what will you choose? To spend your time with those who help fill your emotional reserves, or to keep giving energy to relationships that only drain you? The Stoics would say that it's your responsibility to protect your inner world. And by doing so, you ensure that you have the strength to face the inevitable storms that life throws your way. They disrespect your boundaries. There's a line between openness and vulnerability, and there's a line between healthy connection and manipulation. A true friend respects your boundaries, understands when you need space, when you need quiet, when you need to be left alone. Fake friends? They walk all over those lines like they're invisible. And the worst part? They don't even care. In the eyes of the Stoics, boundaries weren't just an option, they were a matter of personal integrity. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. The Stoic mind teaches us that what happens outside of us is not the problem. It's our response to it that determines our emotional peace. So when someone continually pushes against your limits, it's not the violation that hurts, but your failure to recognize and assert your value in the face of it. Why do fake friends disregard your boundaries? Simple, because they believe their needs are more important than yours. It's a selfishness disguised as dependence. This behavior often starts small, pushing for more time than you're willing to give, guilting you when you say no, showing up uninvited, or pushing past your discomfort without any regard for how their actions affect you. In a sense, it's the art of taking rather than receiving, taking your time, your energy, your emotional space without ever giving back. Consider the words of Seneca, who believed that true friendship fosters mutual growth and support. A friend is someone who allows you to be yourself and encourages you to become who you are meant to be. True friends respect your boundaries because they understand the sanctity of your autonomy. Fake friends, on the other hand, act like bulldozers, flattening anything in their path to serve their own needs. So how do you recognize when someone is crossing those boundaries? First, pay attention to how they react when you say no. A genuine friend will respect your limits. A fake one will guilt-trip you, make you feel selfish, or act hurt, manipulating you into compliance. Do they show up uninvited to your home, demanding time without asking for it? Do they dismiss your feelings when you try to express discomfort, as if your needs are secondary to theirs? These aren't signs of friendship. They're signs of someone using you to fulfill their desires. Think of your boundaries as a fortress. Would you leave the gates wide open for anyone to wander in and out at will, regardless of the damage they might cause? Would you stand idly by as the walls crumble, knowing that every time they cross that line, a piece of you is taken away? If the answer is no, then why allow anyone in your life to do the same emotionally or mentally? Be clear about your boundaries. It starts with understanding what your needs are. What do you need to feel at peace, to feel safe, to feel respected? Once you know that, communicate those boundaries firmly. For example, if a friend keeps calling late at night and disrupting your sleep, say, "I'm not available for calls after 9 p.m., but I'm happy to talk earlier in the day." The Stoics would tell you to accept that not everyone will respect your boundaries, but that doesn't mean you should tolerate being disrespected. If someone continues to ignore your limits, it's a glaring red flag. It's a sign they value their convenience over your well-being. Respect isn't optional, it's a foundational principle. You owe it to yourself to protect your space. And if a friend can't respect that, it's time to move on, because true friends will always honor what you need, just as you honor theirs. So here's the question. What does your silence mean when you let someone violate your boundaries? Does it speak of tolerance or of self-betrayal? The Stoics would argue that every action or inaction you take reveals your values. Let your boundaries speak for themselves, and let those who can't respect them fall away, leaving you with relationships that nourish your soul, not drain it. They're inconsistent. Inconsistency is the most deceptive form of manipulation. It wears the mask of kindness, of care, of friendship, but beneath it lies a pattern of instability, one that causes confusion, frustration, and even self-doubt. A friend who is hot one day and cold the next doesn't provide you with a stable foundation. Instead, they leave you walking on eggshells, constantly unsure where you stand. The Stoics understood the value of consistency in both character and action. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, urged us to live each day as if it were a life of its own, implying that every interaction, every decision should reflect our deepest values. A consistent friend is dependable, a constant presence you can rely on no matter what life throws your way. A friend who is inconsistent, however, is more concerned with convenience than connection. They will show up when it suits them, but the moment things require effort, they vanish into thin air. The truth is, fake friends use inconsistency to control the relationship. They show just enough warmth to keep you invested, but they keep pulling back when it no longer serves them. It's like offering the carrot and then taking it away when you're just about to reach it. The Stoics believed that true relationships are not built on fleeting gestures but on steady, reliable action. So how do you spot this behavior? First, notice how they treat plans. Do they frequently cancel at the last minute or bail out without notice? Do they seem to appear only when it's convenient for them but disappear when you need emotional support? The unpredictability of their actions is a reflection of their true self-interest. Their words may sound sincere, but their actions never match. Take a moment to consider your own life. How much emotional energy do you spend trying to decipher someone's next move? Is your friendship with them more of a game of waiting for them to show up than a relationship grounded in mutual respect? This is the kind of emotional chaos that the Stoics warned against. They valued peace of mind over emotional turbulence, and inconsistency is one of the most effective ways to disturb that peace. When you notice this pattern, address it with clarity. Stoicism teaches us to respond with reason, not emotion. You don't need to lash out, but you do need to acknowledge the issue. A simple, direct approach works best. I've noticed you've canceled on me several times lately. Is everything okay? This gives them the space to explain, but also firmly signals that you are paying attention. If the inconsistency persists, it's time to reassess whether this is a friendship worth maintaining. Think of your life as a garden. You wouldn't plant a flower in soil that shifts every time the wind blows. You need roots that dig deep, stability that doesn't waver. Do you really want to keep watering a relationship that only gives you drought when you need it most? Consistency is not just a sign of good friendship, it's a reflection of a person's integrity. If they can't show up when they're needed, then they're simply not offering you the true companionship you deserve. What are you really investing in when you tolerate inconsistency? You're nurturing an illusion of friendship, not the kind of bond that enriches your life. The Stoics would advise you to focus on those who offer steady support, those who contribute to your peace and growth. When someone's behavior doesn't align with their words, let that be a clear signal. It's time to prioritize relationships that honor your time, energy, and heart. They don't apologize or take accountability. There's an undeniable truth that echoes through the halls of Stoic philosophy. True strength lies not in avoiding mistakes, but in acknowledging them with grace. A person who cannot apologize or take accountability when they've wronged you is not just a person unworthy of trust. They are someone who is unwilling to grow. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." When you are wronged, your response defines your character. A true friend is someone who sees their flaws and acknowledges when they have hurt you. But a fake friend, the one who wears the mask of kindness until it's time to show vulnerability, will not only avoid taking responsibility for their actions, they will twist the truth, project their guilt onto you, or dismiss your feelings altogether. This is where you need to ask yourself, how much space do you give to people who refuse to take ownership of their behavior? Every time they deflect or downplay their mistakes, they rob you of the respect you deserve. It's as if they've thrown a stone into a calm pond, but instead of acknowledging the ripples they've caused, they pretend the water is still. The Stoics would argue that this is not just an error in friendship, it's an error in character. When you confront them, watch carefully. Do they get defensive or angry? Do they act like the injured party, casting you as the villain? Are your concerns brushed off with a condescending remark like, "You're too sensitive," or "It was just a joke"? These are the signs of someone who has not yet embraced the essence of humility, who has not yet learned that growth comes not from winning every argument, but from acknowledging one's shortcomings. Here's a simple, powerful method for addressing the issue. Respond with the calmness and clarity that Stoicism teaches. Instead of getting lost in the chaos of blame, say, "When you did X, it made me feel Y. Can we talk about it?" This approach takes away their ability to deflect and puts the focus squarely on how their actions impacted you. It creates an opportunity for real dialogue. If they refuse to engage or continue to make excuses, it's time to distance yourself. A friendship that can't withstand honest confrontation is a friendship that isn't worth keeping. Think about it like this. Would you build a house on unstable ground, knowing the foundation can crumble at any moment? Of course not. So why invest emotional energy into a relationship that doesn't acknowledge the cracks in its foundation? If someone can't take responsibility for their actions, they won't be capable of creating a stable, meaningful connection. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." By holding yourself to the standard of owning your mistakes and expecting the same from others, you set the tone for relationships based on mutual respect, growth, and accountability. The real question is, what does it say about you when you continue to tolerate someone who cannot admit when they've wronged you? What do you sacrifice when you ignore the warning signs and continue to invest in a one-sided relationship? Take a step back. Be intentional with your energy. Surround yourself with those who are willing to grow, who are not afraid to apologize when they've hurt you. Friendship is built on the understanding that we are all human, and humans are flawed. But only those who possess the courage to face their flaws head-on are worthy of your time and trust. How to cultivate genuine friendships. True friendships don't emerge by accident. They are forged through intentional effort, shared values, and mutual respect. In a world that often values quantity over quality, the Stoics provide us with a refreshing perspective on how to build relationships that are not only enduring but also rooted in virtue. A friendship, according to Stoicism, is not about transactional exchanges or social status. It's about the pursuit of a shared good life. The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Epictetus. This simple but profound quote encapsulates the essence of cultivating meaningful connections. When you surround yourself with people who elevate your spirit, who challenge you to be better, you are no longer merely existing in a relationship. You are thriving within it. Let's break this down into a three-step Stoic approach to building friendships that are grounded in authenticity and mutual growth. Step 1. Be the friend you want to have. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations urges us to be one. You want loyalty, kindness, and authenticity in your friends? Then show up as those very things. It's easy to point the finger at others and say, they're not loyal, or they never listen. But Stoicism teaches us that our power lies in controlling ourselves, not in trying to change others. Being the friend you seek requires consistency. A loyal friend isn't someone who shows up only when it's convenient. True loyalty is about presence not just in good times but when it matters most. In a world where many relationships are shallow, your capacity to listen deeply, to speak with integrity, and to act with sincerity will set you apart. As the saying goes, you get what you give. If you invest in being the type of person you admire, you'll naturally draw those kinds of people into your life. Step 2. Choose quality over quantity. The Stoics weren't concerned with a vast network of superficial acquaintances. Instead, they focused on cultivating a handful of relationships that would nourish their spirit and help them grow. Seneca emphasized the importance of virtue in company, meaning that the people you choose to surround yourself with should align with your values, your goals, and your quest for wisdom. Quality friendships are like fertile soil. They allow you to plant the seeds of your potential and watch them grow. The key here is to be intentional about where you invest your emotional energy. Rather than seeking validation through a large social circle, focus on deepening the connections you have with people who challenge you to be better, who inspire your higher nature, and who encourage your personal growth. In the same way that a single high-quality tool can outperform a dozen cheaply made ones, a small circle of true friends will bring you more fulfillment than a large group of casual acquaintances. When you focus on depth rather than breadth, you avoid spreading yourself thin. The time and energy you invest will pay dividends in the richness of your relationships. Step 3. Practice detachment with grace. Epictetus taught us to be mindful of our attachments. Friendships, no matter how meaningful, can evolve, and sometimes people move in different directions. The Stoics weren't advocating for detachment in the sense of indifference. They were teaching us to let go of people with grace when necessary. You've likely experienced a friendship that, over time, became toxic or unbalanced. Perhaps someone you cared for began to drain your energy, or they no longer shared your values. The Stoic approach would be to accept that people change and sometimes, relationships outlive their usefulness. Instead of clinging to what was, you can release it without bitterness. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, Seneca famously said. Holding on to a relationship that no longer serves you only prolongs your suffering. If a friendship turns toxic, release it. Don't carry the burden of resentment. Instead, wish them well and focus on protecting your peace. When you practice detachment with grace, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional baggage and create space for relationships that truly serve your best interests. In the end, by applying these 3 Stoic principles, being the friend you want to have, choosing quality over quantity, and practicing detachment, you will cultivate relationships that nourish your soul. You'll attract those who share your values and who are also on a path to personal growth. It's not about having many friends, it's about having the right friends. Those who inspire you to reach your highest potential, not those who drain your energy or hinder your progress. Ask yourself this: what would it look like if I started cultivating friendships that genuinely reflect my values and aspirations? Could I make room for more authentic connections and, in turn, become a better version of myself? In a world where fake friends are abundant, the pursuit of genuine, meaningful relationships isn't just an option. It's essential to living a fulfilled life. The Stoics understood this. They didn't need a lot of people, they needed the right people. And so do you. Fake friendships can drain your energy and dim your light, but you have the power to choose better. Start today, set boundaries, prioritize mutual respect, and cultivate relationships that uplift your soul as the Stoics taught us. Take action now, reflect on your circle, let go of what doesn't serve you, and invest in connections that truly matter. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to join our community of growth-minded people. Share your thoughts in the comments. What's one step you'll take to build better friendships? Let's keep this journey going together.